Welcome to Brea Talks, an insider's look into topics that affect your experiences in the city of Brea. Whether you live, work, or play here, we are bringing you the information you need to better understand your city. So now we invite you to listen in as Brea Talks.
Hello, and thank you for listening in. I'm Liz Pharis, and today, Brea Talks Emergency Preparedness. September is National Preparedness Month, so it's only fitting that with me today is Lisa Keyworth, Brea's Emergency Preparedness Coordinator. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Liz, for having me.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. How does someone get into emergency preparedness?
So there's a lot of people that actually go to school. They get a degree in emergency management. They go seek a job. And then there's people like me. I actually started in 2000 as a police dispatcher and spent 16 and a half years doing that, 11 as a supervisor, 2 different cities. And at the second city, it was emergency management was kind of a collateral duty. I got all the training, did everything I was supposed to do. And at 16 and a half years of dispatch, I said, you know what, maybe it's time for a career change. And I live in Brea. And Brea's emergency management position opened, and I applied, and here I am almost 7 years later.
Wow.
So there's actually other emergency managers in the county that started the same way. And I think part of that is we're used to being reactionary. We take a call, we react, we do what we do, we move on to the next one. Emergency management gives us the opportunity to prepare for disasters. We prepare ahead of time. We know we're ready for when they hit. We're part of the response. We're part of the recovery. We're the whole process of an event, not just a little snapshot of reacting to a call and then moving on with no closure.
Wow. So in essence, yeah, they're kind of intertwined in that way.
Absolutely.
Okay, so National Preparedness Month. Tell us about it. What does it entail?
So it started back in 2004. It's a product of FEMA, which is the Federal Emergency Management Agency. And the goal of it is just to make sure that the communities across the nation are prepared for disasters. Every year they have a different theme. This year's theme is, it actually focuses on our elderly folks. And it's called Take Control in 1, 2, 3. Okay. So we'll talk about preparedness, but our elderly community, our older Americans have different needs. And so this year it's to focus on what those needs are and make sure that they're taken care of, since they're a lot more vulnerable than our general population.
Okay, that's interesting. So let's talk about general population first. How does someone prepare for an emergency at home? What should they do?
So for me, my home preparedness should be the same as for my work preparedness. You should be prepared wherever you are. Disasters don't, you can't pick and choose when they happen. That's what the nature of them is, that they're unpredictable. So to prepare yourself, have a kit. Make sure that yourself, your family, even your pets are ready to be, self-sufficient for at least 72 hours. Have food, have water, have your medications. Have all those things ready and available to you. Like I said, home, your workplace, wherever you can be, to make sure that you have those. You want to make sure that you have a plan. If that's an evacuation plan, say it's a house fire. Do you have a plan on how to get out of your house? Do you have a communications plan? Hey, once we leave, where do we go? How do we get there? How do we talk to each other? How do we, coordinate that? Have those in place. Making sure that, your car has gas in it. Make sure that you have cash on hand. People don't think about it, but when we have big disasters or we're waiting for this big earthquake to hit, our infrastructure is going to be impacted. You're not going to have electricity. You're not going to have access to your ATM or the gas pumps. Everybody's into electric vehicles. I'm not knocking them, but keep in mind that there's no power. You're not going to be able to power your vehicle. Do you have a backup plan?
Right.
A lot of people have solar. They have backup plans for that. And the whole intent of this is plan ahead. Think of any possible scenario that it could be. What can you do to better your situation ahead of that?
So it's not like wait till things run out at home. A disaster happens. I rush to Costco, fill my cart up with toilet paper and water, because we don't know when that's going to happen.
Well, number one, I don't understand the whole toilet paper debacle to begin with. But anyway, I digress. But no, the whole intent of this is that you're prepared ahead of time. When you go to Costco, it should be your regular shopping. If you have a kit at home, we recommend, just like you check your smoke detectors. Hint, hint, if you don't, you should every 6 months. We do, like with time change.
Yes.
Daylight savings time is a good time to check your batteries, test your alarms. Well, it's also a good time to check your expiration dates. If you have water in there, make sure you buy a new case and rotate it back through so you always have fresh supplies and when you need them, it's not expired. But to avoid those, oh my gosh, it's going to rain this weekend, we should probably raid Costco and like kill the whole water supply. If every person does their part and just keeps enough on hand for themselves for those 3 days, we won't run into the crisis we ran into in the last couple of weeks when we had some rain coming. Those should be things that you're prepared for all the time, not just when you hear something's coming.
Right. Now, about kits, can someone go somewhere and purchase a ready-made kit? Do you make one at home? What do you suggest?
You can do whatever you want. Cost-wise, what I recommend to people is you can go, if you just want the convenience and money's not a factor, you can go on the websites, put in emergency survival kits. They'll give you everything that you need ready to go. Or what I recommend to people is you don't have to do it all at once. Take a list of what that kit comes with. Go to the local anywhere and buy the stuff you need. I used an example in a class I'm teaching of, I went to the Dollar Tree. I wanted to prove that you could build a really good start to your kit at the Dollar Tree. And you guys have a first aid kit. Don't go to Walmart and buy the 400 pack that's 395 Band-Aids and 5 pieces of gauze. I bought 2 packs of gauze. I bought some tape. I bought some body wipes in case you can't take a shower. I bought all these different things, and I think it was $15, and half my kit's ready to go for very inexpensive. You have to split it up. Maybe next paycheck you go buy a few more things. It doesn't have to cost a fortune, and you have to customize it. On our website, under the fire department site with under preparedness, there's a whole bunch of lists of things, and they're basics of what to keep in your kit. But make it your own. Think about your prescriptions. People don't think about that. Pharmacies give you 3 months supplies. Okay? It's not like it used to be. Don't wait till your last pill and then go, I should probably call the pharmacy. Put one of those months of pack of pills in your kit. And then every, 3 months, 6 months, go in and rotate it out. So you have your prescription medication ready to go. This is for you. Think about your pets. Are your pets on medication? Do they need the medication ahead of time? Do you have a kit for them? Do you have an extra?
Food.
Their food, their medication, their water bowls, a toy. If you have a collapsible crate that you can, quick prepare if you need to leave in a hurry. They're part of the family too. And everybody has different needs, whether it's kids, elderly. Do you wear contact lenses? Do you need contact lens solution? All the things you don't think about are the things that should go in your kit.
It's almost like packing for a vacation.
It is. But just never really unpacking.
Right.
I know that's normal for some people. It's not for me. But it's the same idea, but it's just ready to go. So if something were to happen, you could be sufficient.
Okay. Now, evacuation routes. I know in Brea with the Canyon, there's that, but even just in your home, right? You need those?
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit. So evacuation routes, if you have to get out of your house, what's kind of like an escape plan? If you have a 2-story house, have you thought about if you can't get to the stairwell, do you have another way to get out of the house? But in the bigger picture, we talk about evacuations. What if you have to evacuate your home and leave? So we'll touch on that a little bit. So there's 2 different types of evacuation. So there's the voluntary. Those are the ones where, hey, we think the fire's coming this way. It's probably a good idea that you start packing up and leave. We had that during Blue Ridge. Okay, people don't understand. Blue Ridge was coming. It didn't make it here because the wind shifted. But for us, and what I do is in our emergency operations center, is we're looking at the wind patterns. We're looking at the temperature. We're looking at everything. And had that fire not turned and the wind hadn't shifted, it was going to be 2008 all over again. So we evacuated early out in the canyon. What we recommend is when there's a voluntary evacuation, you should probably leave. Because canyon's one way in, one way out, depending which way the fire's coming from. And that way you're not getting bottleneck traffic. You're able to get out. When it becomes mandatory, it's when people start panicking. They haven't prepared their documents. They haven't prepared their all the things that they really want to take with them that have sentimental value. Those things should be planned ahead of time. But when it gets to a mandatory evacuation and you haven't left yet, we highly recommend you do so. Good way to think about this is not if you're in the canyon. There's just one way, it's east or west. But in your regular neighborhood, usually there's more than one way in and out. Test yourself. Everybody drives in and to and from work the same way every day. Take a different route. You start taking a different route and you leave early, chances are you're not going to hit the same bottleneck that you're going to hit if you wait till the last second to get out.
And I know sometimes during evacuations, people could stay back, but what does that mean for them if that happens?
They can. I know our captain touched on this a little bit when he did his podcast with you a couple of months ago, but they can stay behind and shelter in place and hope to do that. The only problem is we don't want them to be part of the problem. So what happens is the firefighters, knowing that we've evacuated, are safe to focus on the fire. When they find out that somebody's still there and the fire is approaching, it's just their human nature to go help that person. And now they're not protecting all the structures that are there that they could have protected. Now they're focusing on the person because that's just what they do. So if you're going to stay behind, please give that a lot of thought, that you're not going to be part of that problem. The evacuations are ordered for the safety of the public, and that's the whole intent behind it.
All right. So I know you mentioned cars before, but how can someone prepare their car in the case of an emergency? What should you do? Gas and electric, because that's right. That's almost like 50-50 around here nowadays.
Well, you say for an emergency. My thought, the way that I prepare, is when it's not emergency. So regular practice should be keeping your fuel level at half a tank or more, including your charge. Should be at least half, if not more. I joke that, there's two types of people in the world, okay? For your gas-powered vehicle people out there, does the E mean enough or does the E mean empty? Because there's some of you out there that you know exactly how many fumes you have to get to work, knowing you can hit the gas station after work. But look, even just with the rain, I keep saying it, but a couple weeks ago, the lines at Costco Gas were busier than they've ever been, even on a Saturday afternoon. So don't wait for that disaster. You hit a half a tank, fill it up. Think about Katrina. People sat for hours in line waiting to get gas, and they ran out of gas at the gas pumps. And think about if the disaster hits and you don't have power, you don't have gas tanks. They run on electricity to pump. Okay. So have your vehicle at half a tank, whether it's electric or gas, just in case that happens. You're not struggling to evacuate or struggle to get out of town if you need to.
So it's really just how you should think about it on the everyday.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. And where should you keep anything specific in your car? Like you have a home emergency kit. Where should those be kept?
Wherever you can access them. So think about it. People put stuff in their garage, but if you have a garage, especially detached ones, and it collapses during an earthquake, how good are your supplies in a collapsed garage? So it may be in different places. Maybe you don't want your water in the garage that hits 120 degrees when it's the summertime in plastic bottles. Put it wherever you're going to easily access it. Put it to where everybody's going to know where it is. Because if a disaster hits and you need your go bag, where is it? Wherever you're going to keep it. The trunk of your car. I have a couple pairs of clothes. I have a toiletry kit. I have a toothbrush. I have a pair of tennis shoes just in case. So the same things that you would have maybe on a smaller scale in your vehicle. And then for your evacuation supplies, those things, put them in a place that they're easily accessible. During an evacuation, we recommend that people, you know what's coming, back your vehicle into your driveway. That way, as soon as it hits, or the voluntary evacuation hits, you open your garage door, take everything out of the garage that's meant to be part of that evacuation, put it in your car, and you're ready to go. Keep your important documents, like I said, in a Ziploc bag. Put them in your go bag, or your driver's license, your insurance policies, whatever documents you think are going to be important. The tech-savvy folks put it on a thumb drive, put it in a Ziploc bag to make it waterproof, put it in your go bag. So that way when you have to leave, you throw your backpack on with all your gear in it, and you've got all your important documents with you.
Here's another thing I've heard before. You lock your doors or unlock them when you have to evacuate?
You lock your doors.
Okay.
Believe me, if you've seen our firemen and met them, if they need in, they'll get in.
Okay.
We don't want to welcome any crime. People, unfortunately, in today's world, take advantage of that. You leave all your doors and stuff open. There are people of opportunity that go into the hills of evacuated areas and help themselves to your house. So lock the doors. If the firemen need access, they'll be able to get in.
So for this next segment, we're going to bring in a guest, Dan, he's one of our regular hosts and producer of the Brea Talks podcast. And hi Dan.
Hi,
Thank
Dan.
you both for letting me crash your party here. I appreciate it. This brings us to our lightning round, which we've been doing the last couple of episodes.
Oh.
And in most cases, it's the host asking the guest either some sort of fun trivia or myth busting or something along those lines. But I feel like in this instance, it might be a little easy for our guest. So that's why I'm here. I'm going to quiz Liz and see if she's been paying attention.
I love this part.
I'm the one in the lightning seat.
So, 5 questions in what we're going to call FEMA Emergency Preparedness Trivia.
Ooh.
Oh, boy.
Here we go. 5 questions. Okay, they're multiple choice, multiple guess.
Can I phone a friend?
Ooh, you'll get one.
Okay.
I'm right here. You don't have to phone
That's what I
me.
said in the song. And I
But-
tap in a friend. There you go.
But I want to make sure that it's clear that Lisa has not seen these questions either. She did
Okay,
not know this was
okay.
coming. So you can phone a friend. This is pulled straight from the FEMA website.
Okay.
Okay. And good luck.
I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Question 1. What dates are the Atlantic hurricane season? Is it A, May 15th through May 15th through November 30th, B, June 1st through November 30th, or C, July 7th through October 30th?
I'm going to go with C.
Care to steal there, Lisa?
No.
She does not.
Then it's
It
B.
is B, June 30th to June 1st to November 30th.
So I kind of know because that's how I plan my cruises to the Atlantic. I know
Sure,
when not to go.
You should. Yes, for somebody who frequents the cruise lines in the Atlantic, you should know. It does not say here when the Southern California hurricane season is, but that's a thing now. So we'll have to get back to you.
Nothing's out of the question anymore.
We'll have to get back to you on that. Question 2. What is the best way to communicate during a disaster in the continental U.S.? Is it A, a text message, B, a phone call, C, internet chat, D, a whistle, or E, mail?
I'm going to go with a text.
You concur with that?
It depends.
All right.
If you need to communicate back and forth, it's a text. If you just need to get attention, it's a whistle.
Just communicate back and forth.
Between
would go-
Plus,
a
I never learned
distance.
how to whistle, so I'd be in big trouble. It is actually a text message, according
Yes,
to
it
this.
is.
According to this. Okay. Question 3. Where do you include a copy of your emergency communications plan? On A, the refrigerator, B, in your closet, or C, at your job? Your emergency communications plan.
Probably C. You probably want it not in your house, like a safe place somewhere else.
Do you concur?
I would say A and C.
Okay. It says A. You said A. You said C. You said A and C. It is A, according to them, but I'll accept all answers because the expert here in the room says A and C. Whatever.
Well, if
Lisa,
I'm at work, my communications
Sure.
list is not going to do me any good at home.
in this instance, I'm going to say whatever Lisa says is correct. She is the expert. Question 4. On average, for drinking and sanitation, how much water per person per day should you have in your emergency kit? Is it A, 6 cups, B, 1 liter, C, 1 gallon, D, 1 quart?
I'm going to go with 1 gallon. What was that?
1 gallon?
C?
Lisa?
1 gallon per
1
person
gallon
per day.
per person per day is correct. C, we are unanimous. Okay,
She's warmed up. We're ready.
question 5. Here we go. The final question.
Warmed up for the final question.
Where should you shelter during a severe thunderstorm?
Okay.
A, these are the options, not
Okay.
based on where you are, but these are the options that are given. A, under a tree. B, your car. Or C, near a concrete wall.
I'm going to say near a concrete wall.
It's actually your car.
What?
I would assume it has to do with the fact that the tires are rubber and touching.
That's
the
a
ground.
good thought.
Because during the last storm, they were saying, don't get in your car if you see lightning.
Again, I would have just gone with what Lisa had said.
Well, you know what though, it makes sense. You bring up a good point. It's because the rubber in the tires doesn't.
The
conduct
rubber, it
electricity.
does not conduct. Yeah. I mean, I was told there would be no science on this test, but apparently that is the case. Thank you for playing, both of you. I hope you had
Thank you.
fun.
It
You
was
did-
fun.
you
It
did
makes
great.
Yeah.
Makes you want to be a little more prepared, right?
It does. It shows how I'm
Check out
not.
that FEMA website.
There you go.
By the way, there was in that test there was 27 questions, and I just pared it down to 5. So
Thank goodness.
you're welcome.
Thank goodness.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting me in, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for
Enjoy the rest of your
visiting.
talk. Yeah. See ya.
Lisa. I have a question now too, though. How prepared is your family?
Oh, gosh. Well, because we do frequent Costco, we always have plenty of water on hand and toilet paper and snacks. I want to say we're good on medication. I'd probably need to be better about dog food, especially because he's on prescription dog food. I probably need to always keep a bag. I would, if I had to give myself a grade, probably a B minus.
But after listening to me for how long that you have,
Yes.
over the years being prepared,
No, for sure. You definitely have gotten in my head, and I do. I mean, whenever I go somewhere, where's the nearest exit? I'm ready to react. In fact, this past summer was a real. It really did strike me. We were in Washington, D.C. for the 4th of July, and we were on the National Mall along with thousands of other people. And I looked around and I thought, wow, there aren't a lot of police officers around, or at least people in uniform. And it was getting pretty tight in there. And, it's just been crazy lately. And I just looked to my family and I said, okay, if anything happens, if anything weird happens and we need to get out of here, you know where the hotel is, just go straight there. There was a Subway on the other side of us. I'm like, don't go near there. Just walk. It's a couple blocks. We all have phones. We'll get in touch later. But not till later did I realize, reflecting, was like, oh, wow. Like, I probably would have never thought about that if it wasn't, hearing a lot of talk about emergency preparedness from you, right? You've given me a lot of pointers over the years. And then just knowing that you always got to have a plan. It doesn't have to be intricate, and it can just be that moment that you think of it. But it's always helpful to know and have something ready.
But didn't it make you more comfortable for the event knowing you had a plan?
It did. And it was like, okay, especially, having kids, right? It's like, okay, you just run, go, right? And then we'll meet up later, but just get out of the area if something is to go awry. I mean, it's sad. It made me a little sad that I thought that way, but I also felt comfort in knowing, okay, this is what we're going to do. And we had that moment, moved on, had a great 4th of July, event free. It was perfect.
But that's why we do this.
Yes.
So instead of having mass hysteria and panic, even during an evacuation, people that are prepared, they're not the panic mode. They're like, okay, I've already planned for this. Now it's time. And you don't need to make a big deal with the kids. You don't need to get all fired up and say, oh my God, the world's falling apart. It's okay. Remember that plan we practiced? Well, now it's time to do it. So get your go bag. Let's get in the car. Let's go. Make it just like you practiced. And the kids, they're ready to go. And when you're more prepared, you react a lot better because you already know. You're prepared for it. You've already set your mind to it. And just like you in D.C., it puts your mind at ease knowing you had that plan in place. Enjoyed your night without anything happening.
Right.
So.
Right. Well, and, as Brea's public information officer, when it does come down to disasters and emergencies, you and I work very closely together. And I'll admit, like, I like crisis only because it's like that adrenaline time, right? Like you said, you prepare, you train, and then it's go time. And you start reacting and luckily we don't have those that often, right? I mean, COVID was a really long, extended one, and that got a little exhausting. But on the day-to-day, they're very few and far between. But they're always great experiences that we can learn from. But my point is, it's very important communication during emergencies, right? And there's a lot of agencies, including Brea, have multiple avenues of how to alert the public. And, these alerts are only as effective as people sign up for them, right? I mean, I can tell you firsthand, we use the website, we use social media. People have to go and look for it still, right? We tell people sign up so it can come straight to you, but people have to also, right, go and meet us there where we put out the communication. So tell us a little bit more about how people can stay informed during an emergency.
So for Orange County, we have what's called Alert OC, and it's a mass notification system that has the capacity to notify the entire county of an emergency or disaster at the same time. So the only problem with that is we only have access to hardline telephone line data. So if you're like me, I got rid of that years ago. Very few of you can still plug your phone, a regular old hardwired telephone into the wall and pick it up and have a dial tone. It doesn't count going through a modem. It doesn't count going to the internet. We're talking hardline phone. So other than that, that's all the data we have. So what we ask of the public is sign up for Alert OC. Go in there. Go to Alert OC. It'll work through .com or .org. Put in your address. You can register up to 5 email addresses, 5 cell phone numbers. You'll get text messages, you'll get emails, you'll get voice messages, whether it's an evacuation, whether it's, hey, there's somebody dangerous in your neighborhood, stay in the house with the doors and windows locked. It can be as simple as that, but we need people to register. And ironically, we have the countywide test coming up on September 21st at 9 a.m. So even if you are registered, go into the portal, make sure your information's correct. If you need to make any updates, add or delete anything, now's a good time to do it. So on the 21st at 9 a.m., when you hear my happy voice saying, hi, this is the City of Brea, we want to make sure that you get those notifications, because that's how we're going to push it messaging out to the public during a disaster. And yes, we have our social media sites. We have all the same stuff, but you're right. They have to go looking for it. And Alert OC, as you know, during Blue Ridge, we used it to affect those evacuations.
Right.
And so go to Alert OC, get signed up, and if you do nothing else to prepare, that's a huge piece of it.
Now, can someone sign up for Alert OC in different cities? Like if I live in one place, work in another, my kid goes to in another school in another city, like is it smart to sign up for different Alert OCs? How does that work?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, you work here, you live in another city, as long as it's in Orange County.
Okay.
But it's a countywide system. So yeah, you can sign up with an address at any of the cities that you want to be notified about. And we recommend that too. If you have, elderly parents and they live in an area, you want to get the notification if something's happening near their house or your kid's school or whatever that is. So you can register in any city in the county and get those notifications.
Okay. And you mentioned if you had, parents, some elderly family members. So let's go back to National Preparedness Month and how this year's theme has to do with older adults. So how do they prepare differently for emergencies?
The preparedness piece is typically the same, but it's usually dependent on somebody else helping them get there. So making sure they still have the kit and what's available to them. A big piece of what I do is I teach a program to the public for disaster preparedness. But what we teach them is get to know your neighbors, get to know who the older folks are, the ones with mobility concerns, those with hearing or vision impairment. So if we have an emergency or a disaster, first responders get there, you can say, hey, my neighbor is in a wheelchair and I haven't seen her come out yet. So we know who we need to check on. Their needs are different in what their medications are. Their needs are different in, hearing aids. Do they have hearing aid batteries in their kits? Their kits are going to look a little different. If they don't have transportation, we need to make sure that we coordinate that for them. So their communications plan might look a little different for us of we get there, who do we call to help you? Who is that phone call we're going to make for you? A lot of older Americans aren't very comfortable with technology. I remember a few years ago, we had this conversation with our senior center of showing them how to use a cell phone and how to send a text message.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's something we revisit, but their needs are different. During COVID, we recognized that there was a huge need with our older Americans. The Meals on Wheels programs, those things where they were dependent on somebody helping them, the numbers actually went up significantly. So we recognize that their needs are different and they're a lot more vulnerable during a disaster. They can't move like we can. They don't have the same resources. Even some things like fixed incomes, there's things to think about. We go back to that. I went to the Dollar Tree to put together a kit. Maybe it's helping them put those kits together. Doesn't have to cost a fortune, but get them what their necessities are and get that kit ready for them.
Okay, no, that's all great information. Okay, you mentioned you teach a class, so let's touch on that a little bit.
Okay, so we have what's called the Community Emergency Response Team. It's two things. It's a class and it's a program beyond the class. So the class is actually FEMA, who sponsors National Preparedness Month, also sponsors the CERT program. It's nationwide. It's the same curriculum across the country. It's 20 hours. It covers light search and rescue, disaster medical on how to, bandage wounds and splint broken bones. We teach how to use extinguishers. We talk about how to put together kits. We talk about the psychology of dealing with a disaster. We actually just started our class last night, so we're in the midst of right now. But we do offer it twice a year. It's typically in the spring and in the fall. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Maybe winter, maybe fall 24.
Okay.
But we'll get it on the website. But it's an excellent opportunity. You can go through the class, take it, go help your community and help your neighbors, help kids on the soccer field, whatever you're going to use it for. Or you can stay active. We do quarterly trainings. I have 150 people on my roster that want to stay active. So they come to quarterly trainings on updating their medical skills or updating how to use an extinguisher or whatever those things are. And those people, if we have a disaster, they're a force multiplier. There's not enough police and firefighters during a disaster. These people are trained in basic functions to be able to help us. They know how to turn off gas meters. They know how to check for gas leaks. They know how to check if there's major damage to a residence. They are our eyes and ears when we don't have enough first responders. So the CERT program is very, very important here in the city of Brea. And it's interesting over the years to see how, even my firefighters have taken to They know exactly what CERT is. They know what their training is. They know what that program is. And it's really neat to see it kind of grow. And the community know what that is and know what a good thing it is for us.
Right. And I mean, my takeaway is emergency preparedness. It's almost like what can you do to help you be self-sufficient during an emergency, right? So first responders can either go take care of the really bad stuff, or you can, or have time to come in and help you.
Right. And we talked about that community, like even the older Americans or whatever it is. Part of the CERT program is not just responding. Part of it is checking on your neighbors, knowing who your neighbors are. We have good stories. So we have somebody over one of our neighborhoods here, and she had her mom visiting, and her mom's hard of hearing, but her mom is also from a foreign country. So one thing to know that she's hard of hearing, another to know if somebody started using American Sign Language. American Sign Language is in English. Her signing is different. But just knowing, all the neighbors knew that she was visiting. They all knew where she was from. They knew she was hard of hearing. So it's a key for us. Hey, if something happens, we need to keep an eye on her. We need to make sure that her needs are taken care of. So just even knowing your neighbors and having that connection and taking care of each other is a big part of preparedness also.
Right. And helping build community, which we love to do here in Brea.
Yes, we do.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much again for being here. I know it can be hard for people to get beyond the thought of, I'm fine, it's not going to happen to me, it's not going to happen soon. But hopefully our listeners really heard today that we really need to understand how important it is to take emergency preparedness seriously.
I completely agree. Thank you for having me. And I'm always available, email, calls, whatever you need. If you have questions, like I said, there's some resources on the website for you to just get some checklists started. It's a starting point. Build your own preparedness for your home and your work, and the city thanks you for it because in the long run, it helps all of us.
Okay, great. Well, that's it for this episode of Brea Talks. This episode and all episodes of Brea Talks are available wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on Brea TV and Brea's YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, rate, and review. Thanks so much for listening in as Brea Talks.